I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. Hello everyone, and welcome into yet another episode of The Locker Room. So excited to have you joining me today. Before we get started, make sure you follow The Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Facebook, The Locker Room host Jacob, on Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615, and finally on TikTok, The Locker Room 22. Now let's get started. There's a question we should all be asking ourselves this morning, and it is the question, why Jacksonville? Why? Why did the Jacksonville Jaguars waive Leonard Fournette yesterday? Other notable either waivers or trades from Jacksonville this year, Yannick Njoku, Nick Foles, A.J. Boye, Calais Campbell. They're 2-star defensive players, 3 if you include A.J. Boye, the way he played his last year of his contract. A quarterback that they just got from the Eagles in Nick Foles. Why Jacksonville? Why? The question we should all be asking at home, we should all be asking to ourselves. Well, there's a couple reasons why, and I'm going to tell you why Jacksonville is doing what they are doing. Yes, I know they've given up a lot of talent. They've traded away their star players. They have traded away basically their entire defense. They had a pretty good draft, I will admit. But why Jacksonville? Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it now? Here's why. The Jacksonville Jaguars are doing what all smart organizations that don't have a Super Bowl chance do, which is you ship out all of your expensive old materials and you bring in young, cheap materials to slowly build this thing the right way. They are building it the right way. Jacksonville, by all means, have definitely been the dumpster fire of the NFL for several years. There's a couple other teams you can throw in there, but Jacksonville, I would say, has been notably, when people think of Jacksonville Jaguars football, they notably say, yeah, this is bad. Anytime you can buy a $9 ticket to an NFL game, your team sucks. Just putting that out there. And Cincinnati Bengals fans, I bought a $12 ticket off of you last year, so you're right in that boat with them. But here's the deal. Jacksonville understands that they suck. And Jacksonville understands that because they suck, they have to build this thing the right way. So how do you do that? You get rid of expensive, older players. You get rid of players that are taking up too much cap space. You go get more draft picks for the future. Here's an example of some other teams that have done these things the right way. The Baltimore Ravens. They got rid of Joe Flacco. They cleaned house. They bring in Lamar Jackson. They slowly build a team around Lamar Jackson. They are now my favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. They go out and get players because they have the extra money and cap space. They go get players like Calais Campbell, ironically from Jacksonville. And then you can add in some of these star older defensive and offensive players because now you have money to do so, but you've built a good young core together that holds the nucleus of that entire team. So like Baltimore with the whole Joe Flacco era going away, like the Dolphins are doing. I know Fitzmagic is still down there, but the Dolphins basically cleaned house, clean coaches, and they have an entire almost brand new team. 6 brand new starters on defense. I think there's 5 on offense. Basically half of your roster is brand new. But here's the deal. The Miami Dolphins are building it the right way. What Brian Flores has implemented from the beginning with his young talent is the sense that we're going to build it around you young guys. Then we're going to save enough money on the top end because we're not paying the Calais Campbells. We're not paying the Jadeveon Clowneys of the world so much money that we can't afford to bring in 2 good guys as opposed to 1 great guy. But here's the deal. If you want to go get a great guy, you now have all the cap space in the world because you have ripped this thing down to the studs. You have sent players out that were good, absolutely. You've sent players out that are starters in this league, that are stars in this league, absolutely. But you're building it the right way. What's good of having a Jalen Ramsey on your team if your defense is still going to allow 48 points with the other corner? Nothing. So build it the right way. Clean shop. Get them out of there. Build this thing from the studs all the way back up. I mean, look at what the 49ers have done. The 49ers just lost in a Super Bowl. Yes, I understand they lost in a Super Bowl, but they were in a Super Bowl after building this thing the right way. They got good draft picks. They held on to good defensive players. They drafted smart. They went out and got good players in free agency, the Emmanuel Sanders of the world. They went out and got good players, and then they built this thing the right way. They got Jimmy G, and then look what happened. They were led all the way to the Super Bowl and almost won it. If it wasn't for a bad throw by Jimmy G, they would have won that Super Bowl. They went out and got the Telvin Colemans of the world. Players like that they went out and got because they had the nice open cap space. They had space on their team. They had an open roster. They weren't pressured into having to get, two okay players. They could go out and get the Telvin Colemans of the world, a good running back in this league. So in recent history, we've seen the 49ers success. In future history, we're going to see the Dolphins success. In future history, we're going to see the Baltimore Ravens, who have already had success last year and will have success this year. So why Jacksonville? Why? Because Jacksonville is tired of being the dumpster fire of not only the AFC South, but the dumpster fire of the entire league. Jacksonville is tired of having people say, "Oh, Bama could beat you. You versus Alabama, it'd be a close game." Jacksonville's tired of it. They finally are, from the management up top all the way down, are making smart decisions. Wow, there's a shock. This is what happened. This is what Jacksonville should have done years ago. It's what they should have done when they had the pieces like the Jalen Ramseys of the world. As opposed to just letting them go, you should have cleaned all the house when Jalen Ramsey was there. Just get rid of all of them. Goodbye. See ya. Sorry. Wouldn't want to be ya. We're building this thing the right way. So why Jacksonville? Why? Because Jacksonville is not only doing this smart, Jacksonville is rebuilding this thing smart, but Jacksonville is preparing to be a future playoff team. Jacksonville is preparing to be a future, hopefully in their aspirations, Super Bowl contenders. That is why Jacksonville is doing what they're doing. And I can't fault it. It's extremely smart. But I really want to focus on newly released player Leonard Fournette. Besides Calais Campbell, Leonard Fournette is definitely the most prominent player let go of this Jacksonville Jaguars team. Calais Campbell, as we all know, found a home in Baltimore where he and the Baltimore Ravens will wreak havoc on the entire league and be inevitably the doom to the Tennessee Titans in week, I think 5 it is, when we will get destroyed by 45 because the Baltimore Ravens are out for vengeance. They're out for blood. They've seen us. They're tired of us. We shouldn't have beat them last year, and we did. So I'm terrified for that as a Titans fan. But Calais Campbell has found his home. Now, where should Leonard Fournette end up? That is the real question. Where should Leonard Fournette end up? And I've got a couple places that I think Leonard Fournette could be very effective and or put this team in Super Bowl contention. First possible landing spot for Leonard Fournette, and one that I think would make this team an absolute conference winner and would bring up this offense to a point where they don't have to rely so heavily on the quarterback that it puts him in harm's way and more likely to get injured, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have a couple okay running backs. They have Samuels, who did a pretty decent job for them. They had a rookie last year from Notre Dame that was okay, but they've never had a consistent run threat, and when they did, in the Nick Foles years, when Sproles was still running around, when they had a decent run threat, when they had Jordan Howard, who wasn't bad for them, when they had decent run threats, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to succeed on the offensive side of the football because they had talented quarterbacks under center. You have a Carson Wentz, who is a top 10 quarterback in this league. You had Nick Foles, who played like a top 3 quarterback in this league. And what did they have in common? They both had good running backs, good running attacks at some points at the beginning of their career. That's what led to their early success. What has happened in Philadelphia? Sproles retires. You have Samuels, who's okay. You don't have a lot of depth in the backfield anymore. And they have nothing that is really in that 3rd and 3. They have nothing there besides trying to dump it off to their star tight end. But at the end of the day, what happens when that star tight end got hurt? Exactly what we've seen the last couple years. Either Carson Wentz is hurt and no one can make that throw, and or Carson Wentz is healthy and then your tight end gets hurt. So you can't continually rely on Zach Ertz, who's getting older and older and older, to pick up those third and shorts every single time. Leonard Fournette would bring a stability to the backfield of the Philadelphia Eagles, would make them an instant winner of that conference, in my opinion. They've got a pretty decent defense. Carson Wentz really needs somebody that can give him 125 yards a game and 2 touchdowns. That would set the Philadelphia Eagles on the same playing field as the Dallas Cowboys. That would set the Philadelphia Eagles on top of that division. They have the better quarterback. If their wide receivers can actually stay healthy for once in their entire careers, they would be just fine in that division. But that's my number one landing spot for Leonard Fournette would be the Philadelphia Eagles. Not necessarily in order, but another good landing spot, the Chicago Bears. Here's the deal, Chicago. You are buying in to the old school mentality of good-ass defense, good running backs, okay quarterback play. And if that's the brand of football you want to do, then go get Leonard Fournette. It makes no sense to me. Why would you not go get Leonard Fournette? You have David Montgomery in the backfield. You have a rookie that's doing, apparently from what I've read in several articles, he is balling out in practice. And yes, I understand it's practice, but some players are very good in practice and can relate that to games. And if he's one of these guys, then they have another solid running back. So why not go get Leonard Fournette and make this a trio? You have Tariq Cohen, who has now moved to the slot. Get Leonard Fournette in there. Here's the deal. You don't want to trust your game to Mitch Trubisky. You don't want to trust your game to Nick Foles. I got it. So if that's not the brand of football you're going to play with relying on a quarterback in a quarterback-heavy league nowadays, then good. If you're going to sell out to this old-school football mentality, then go get Leonard Fournette. Put him in the backfield with David Montgomery. Put him in the backfield with the rookie. Put him in the backfield with Tariq Cohen. Let Mitch Trubisky be a 15-and-in guy. Let Nick Foles, if he so is the starter later in the season, let Nick Foles be a 15-and-in guy. Rely on running the ball a lot, scoring 14-7, and winning games that way because you have good defense and you're scoring 14 points with 340 rushing yards out of your backfield, 130 yards out of your quarterback. Buy into this system. If that's what you're going to do, buy into this system. Go get another star running back in this league. It just makes sense to me, Chicago. This is the brand of football you want to play. This is the brand of football you've been playing. So go get Leonard Fournette. Unless you think Mitch Trubisky is able to take the reins this year, unless you think Nick Foles is going to step in week 4 and start balling out and lead you on a Super Bowl run again, then go get Leonard Fournette. It just makes complete sense for Chicago. I've got another team for you, Leonard Fournette. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know the Buccaneers have expressed that they've seen you, that they're kind of interested. I think that's their way of saying, Bruce Arians' way of saying, yes, we're very interested. Let's see what we can work out. But when that was presented this week, I found it very interesting. You've got Ronald Jones III in the backfield. If you can put Leonard Fournette, if you can put a steady star back behind Tom Brady and that already dynamic wide receiver core, arguably the best wide receiver core in the league, if healthy and if playing behind a good quarterback play from Tom Brady, then without a doubt it makes sense for Leonard Fournette to end up a Buccaneer. This wide receiver core is gonna get a lot of attention by defenses. If you can add Leonard Fournette, then there is nothing that can stop this Tampa Bay offense from moving the ball 15 yards every single play. Because you're either going to have one-on-ones with Godwin and Mike Evans, or you're going to have Leonard Fournette pile driving through for 10 to 15. With the addition of Leonard Fournette in the backfield, this makes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers my sleeper Super Bowl favorite. Offensively, they would not be able to be stopped. Rob Gronkowski, Chris Godwin, then you have Mike Evans, now you have Leonard Fournette in the backfield. It would be an unstoppable force on offense. And, well, last but not least, let's move over to Seattle. Here's the deal. Russell Wilson is being relied on way too much. Russell Wilson cannot continue to win games by himself. He can in the regular season. The second it gets to the playoffs, it's the same thing that has happened the last several years to the Seahawks.